Welcome to Bold Chat, everybody. The live stream. So excited to be here streaming with you guys today. We're going to be talking with some beautiful, incredible, fantastic Moms for Liberty ladies today. I'm so excited. It's been literally about a month since I met all of these fabulous people. And I'm so grateful to have, some guest appearances and chats with them today. So welcome to Bold Chat presented by Network Access Group. Please check out the link in my bio and follow there so you don't miss any streams or podcast episodes. Here we are. Let's kick it off. So this is pretty exciting. We're going to be having we're going to be talking Moms for Liberty, free speech today. Please interact in the comments. Bring your questions. We want to be as interactive as possible. It's been about a month since I saw them at the Moms for Liberty Joyful Warriors Summit about a month ago down here in Orlando. And so this is pretty exciting because to kick it off, we have Scarlett Johnson. Scarlett is the Moms for Liberty social media director and host of the Unleashed podcast. And we also have Rosalind Hanson here, who's also with Moms for Liberty, a director and a White House correspondent. And Rosalind is boots on the ground right now, coming to us straight from the White House. So, Rosalind, what are you doing there? What's going on?
Wild. So good to see you. A month has been too long. And I am here right now. The president just signed an executive order with First Lady Melania Trump called Fostering $55 million line item in the fiscal year budget, focused on advancing priorities that protect children, teenagers who are graduating out of the foster system. And graduating isn't necessarily the right word, but it was a wonderful ceremony acknowledging the importance of ensuring that our children who are in the foster system get the services that they need so that they can go out of that system and find a way to thrive through education, through workforce placement. And so it's been a great day. So I'm going to finish up here with you guys and then hopefully hop onto another event over in DC. So it's been a very political day for a middle-aged mom.
That's incredible. How often are you there at the White House?
So depending on if there are executive order signings or not, but they usually have a press conference every week. And depending on Scarlett's availability or my availability, we try to get to as many of them as humanly possible. So that way our stakeholders can understand what's happening within the administration and how it impacts them, right? As moms, like what are the kitchen table issues they care about? And foster care is definitely one of them because only 3% of foster kids go on to higher education. Only about 50% graduate with a high school diploma. So these are really important issues to make sure that these children who are already so vulnerable are getting the educational needs met going forward in their lives.
Absolutely. That is amazing work, super important work. You ladies are incredible. Yeah, you're doing such amazing things and it's very
this is the first executive order signing since the government shutdown, right? So this is the first time that because there was a bunch of events and a lot of them got canceled. So this is the first time that we've been able to come in because the government's finally open.
That is very reassuring. I'm so happy to know that. I'm so happy to know that you ladies are there fighting the good fight and doing, this really important work and speaking up and making a huge positive difference. So thank you so much. I know, Rosalind, you're kind of like out there. It's probably really cold there too. I'm like in Florida, like, la da da. You're like braving it.
I'm probably the hybrid between you in Florida, Scarlett, and Wisconsin, and here we're at about 55, but it's definitely windy and I definitely have my pea coat on. So
hasn't it been cold in Florida? Like I saw pictures where Kate said like it was like 30 something degrees. I was like, that must be like Arctic winter for Floridians.
Yeah, absolutely. It was but it was very short-lived. So just the beginning of this week, it did feel obviously cold, but coming from New York, I know that that's like everyone's like eye roll, but it was like when we woke up, I think maybe like 30 degrees, but with the sun, it kind of warms up. And now today we're back in the 70s.
Oh, yay. Do you have our golden ladder?
Oh yeah. Tell us about the golden ladder, please. I love gold.
I think beforehand you called it the bold gold ladder. So
Exactly.
Scarlett, ever the optimist, ever the hustler, is like, I'm petite. I need to get some height. So she had me buy a gold ladder that I'm sitting on. I don't know if you can see it a little. That I'm sitting on out here. I can't even get a good angle. How do I get the good angle? There it is. There it is.
It works as a seat as well.
It works
Oh
as
my-
a seat when you forget some of your equipment, but I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and pop a squat at the White House, have a conversation with my girlfriends.
Well,
See,
What life?
it's a behind the scenes, like everyone has a ladder and they put like Fox News, CNN, and we were the only ones without a ladder, and there are all these ladders. So it's like, we need a ladder, and to differentiate ourselves, we have the gold ladder. It's the only one. It's the prettiest ladder.
well, I do love the bold gold. I'm a big fan. I'm like a big fan of gold. So I would, if I walked by and if I saw it, I would definitely compliment. Ooh.
Well, we had somebody earlier who was like, I like your ladder. I'm like, thanks, Amazon. Send you the link.
Right? Yeah, we need to get this door going. I didn't realize there were even gold ladders on Amazon, but there you go. Well, thank you so much. So yeah, I just wanted to point out these comments from North 1982, who said that's so interesting to hear. I graduated from foster homes. And also I didn't know there was an executive order on this. Love to learn this. So just wanted to make sure you guys saw that, because just to highlight how important and meaningful this work is and how appreciative people are for you. So, well, Rosalind, thank you for showing us the behind the scenes and the White House. I know you have to travel and you're going to pop back on, but I'm so glad we had the opportunity to see what you've been up to today.
Yeah, let me get a little settled and I'll circle back, but you two have fun.
I'll see you next week.
I totally did a professional. I'll circle back to you.
Circle back. I'll be there next week, Wednesday, so I'm excited.
I'm jealous. I need another in-person meeting with you guys. All right, so we'll bring Rosalind back in a bit after she travels. We're going to take this opportunity. Scarlett, you've had quite a month since I saw you at the event. Again, you're the social media director for Moms for Liberty, host of Unleash. I want to make sure people know about your podcast. And you're in Wisconsin. You have 5 kids. Wow. You've been dealing with a case for 3 years, which is, while it sounds grueling, I know you're passionate about parental rights and education, challenging woke ideologies in schools, having 5 kids. And you call yourself an accidental activist, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what were you seeing? What was going on? And I don't know how old your kids are, but it must run the gamut. You've seen all kinds of things.
Yes. And at the time, this was in 2022. So I am an accidental activist. I never dreamed in my life that I would be on camera as much as I am now. The first time I spoke at a school board meeting, I threw up. I was so nervous. My hands were shaking. My background is political science. I went to school. I started law school, but I dropped out when I had my son. And then I always thought I'd go back, but then I just kept getting pregnant. So that kind of got in the way.
Kind of interferes.
Yeah, interferes. But I loved, so stay at home mom with a bunch of kids and various, always a wide span of ages. But at that time, my oldest son was in college, and I had 4 in school, from high school, middle school to elementary school. And so, of course, COVID, and there was a lot of insanity. And for my children, it was a really hard time because everything had been ripped from them. All of their society, all of their friends, their school, sports, prom, everything, graduations, for virtual. My son graduated from college, and we couldn't even watch except from a screen. And we had to stand outside and wait for him to come out. It's just it's so depressing to even think about. I really hate, it's it's PTSD when I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I very upset that in my community where there was no reason for our schools not to open. There had just been this big referendum, tons of money, and they kept promising us that if we passed this referendum, they would use this money to get ready for school. And at that time, I was like, fine, the kids can be masked as long as they're going to school. I got my opinion changed about that later, but I would just wanted them to be social things to get back to normal. And I wasn't alone. So when my school board there's a school board, there's 7 members, and I had no idea the real function of a school board until this time. And they are elected, and they are the ones that will decide policy, and they should decide like COVID policy. But they were cowards, and they ceded all of their voting authority to basically the school superintendent, who isn't elected, and he would singularly decide whether or not schools would open or close. And he decided they would not open, they would stay closed, and it would be virtual learning. And basically, I was crying, and I put out on Facebook, hey, like, are you upset about this? And found like-minded people, and we next day said, hey, let's meet up and let's talk about this. Well, we show up outside, of course, because it's COVID, and there were over 100 parents, and that was literally the next day. Within a week, we had 700 people, and so it immediately was huge. So I led, we had peaceful protests, we did petitions, all of the things to open schools. Eventually they did. But of course, that made me a bit unpopular. So I went from mom, who's always volunteering, who they had previously asked to serve on the school board, and I declined because my kids were too young, to persona non grata. Like, they did not like me very much. On top of it, during these times of virtual learning, I started to see troubling things that my kids were learning. I listened in on classes. I would literally be doing the laundry as I'm listening to my kids in various rooms. And I every once in a while, I'm like, what are they saying? What's that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. I'm a political scientist. I have a master's degree. Like, what there's in history, that doesn't sound right, or they shouldn't be talking like this. And then I saw what they weren't learning too. And that was more troubling to me, actually. My district was woke, but not as crazy as some. But what they weren't learning, I'm like, you should have more homework. You're not learning enough. You should be reading something different. Anyway, we eventually had this, to make a long story short, we had a seminar, and we hired an equity consultant firm. And after FOIAs, I discovered, along with a big group of parents, that we had spent at least $42,000 on just one seminar on race and privilege. And this seminar basically was 3 hours long, and there was a scale of how racist are you. There was basically the encouragement to look at everything through the lens of race and oppression, that if you're white, that you are almost certainly racist just by nature. There was even kind of these, just about how in your like the amount of melanin you had determines how kind you are. And if you have less melanin, you tend to be individualistic and cold. If you have more melanin, then you're more community. I'm like, this is not science. What is going on here? And upon investigation, and my friends had sent me some screenshots of the photo of an educator in my school district who was a DEI consultant, basically a social justice coordinator, skilled in equity promotion. And this was a screenshot of their LinkedIn profile. It was public. I didn't even have a LinkedIn account, and I could see it. And I was really angry at this time about what was happening in the school district, and the constant denials that they were engaging in some serious DEI work. And so I put it on social media, and I was like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we paying for a DEI consultant? Why are my tax dollars funding this? just what we need. Another woke white woman with a God complex, in our school district. Just like a flippant comment that was directed at the school district with the proof that we had the DEI coordinator in that LinkedIn profile. I honestly didn't even really look at the picture other than I could see that it was a white woman. All I cared about was what was underneath, which were paragraphs kind of discussing that this person was a DEI consultant. And that's what I was worried about. Well, I was almost immediately slapped with a defamation lawsuit. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't take it seriously at first. I thought, there's no way that this is gonna result in defamation.
Mm-hmm.
Months later, getting legal opinions and all of that, it actually everything boiled down to the word woke, calling this DEI consultant woke and inferring the school district was woke, and that was defamation, that was defamatory. And I just was shocked. I'm like, this can't be real. No one would believe me when I would talk to some public interest law firms. They're like, well, what did you say? You must have said something pretty bad. It's like, nope, this was it. Here's the tweet and here's the post. And it was just what I said, woke, and calling woke was defamatory. I think this was political persecution because I was asked to give 7 years of financial records, all of my bank statements, my mortgage, my husband. They wanted my husband's information. They wanted to seize my computer, my iPhone, my iPad, any sort of electronic device, and have it scanned. There are like, a DEA told me that there are murder cases where he doesn't ask for this much information, and so it was a lot of pressure. I in the news and called a racist publicly and a white supremacist, all of these things. And I'm Puerto Rican, so there's that. But it was really a horrible time. And early on, we had to hire a private attorney. We spent tens of thousands of dollars, and we tried to appeal, but everything was going through Milwaukee, which is a blue area, a blue city in Wisconsin. And it was eventually determined that I was to face a jury trial. And we were going through the process of discovery, depositions, and getting ready for a jury trial. And I was scared to death because they were seeking damages in such a way that there was no price tag. The jury could decide how much damages, and that could be $1 million. It could be $1. You don't know. And so finally, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, we got to this point, and I went to Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, a public interest firm, and they took my case, and they did a fabulous job. They appealed everything that was happening, and a year and a half later, here we are. I won the appeal. The attorneys were excellent. They did such a good job. Right away, they could see all the flaws in the legal opinions and all of that. So yeah, thanks. And so it came down to a free speech victory, that parents like myself have the right to criticize their local government, that they can call their school district woke, they can call a DEI coordinator woke, that's just free speech. So there you go. There's my whole spiel, I think.
Well, I wouldn't call that long. You've been dealing with this for 3 years of litigation, which just sounds grueling. And you spoke to it like beyond the financial repercussions, which that's even wild to just have no idea what that even looks like for these things to be drawn out, to be complete, the whole thing of it being wild that this even happened. Like, is this even possible? Because right, like listening to it, to me, what you said, it's an opinion, right? And like you said, it's free speech. So you should be allowed, in general right now, I think it's such a problem, and we've talked about this, to not be able to ask questions and, be able to criticize, like ask questions about what's going on, what's being taught, you know, in schools. But yeah, it's an opinion. You should be allowed to criticize. So it's wild to think that you can be slapped with a lawsuit like that. And
yeah, there's a lot of details too. There's a I don't know if you've seen, there's like a Facebook group that's Stop Moms for Liberty. Well, the leader of that group in Wisconsin was going to be a material witness against me in this case. A person who had, I mean, consistently posted pretty vile things about me and my family, was actually going to be a witness. And it just was maddening. There was threats to have my friends subpoenaed for a deposition. And of course, they were like, that's a scary thing to go through. And I was like, why would you do that? I don't understand. If all of this was just about staying woke, but I think obviously it was a lot more than that, that I had become a very loud voice in my community, in the state of Wisconsin, and had started to become a national figure. And I think that it wasn't about me. It was about taking down the whole movement and making an example out of me.
yeah, it sounds like a lot of, you know, intimidate, like wanting to put a stop to it, wanting to silence you, wanting to intimidate, threaten you, and prohibit you and other people to question things, essentially.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, which is crazy. Like, we shouldn't just accept things as like, it's, you know, and I think in so many senses, like I'm doing the same thing and getting pushback from it just for asking, you know, about the Democratic Party or just a lot of things. Like, we should be able to ask questions. I think that makes us smarter. That's completely fair. We shouldn't just be, I think it's stupid.
Question with boldness. I know I do. And I am not going to just, even your own side, like Thomas Jefferson, question with boldness, because if what you believe in is true, then it can handle it. And if it falls like a house of cards, then it's good to know that you were carrying around an opinion or a belief or a value that actually isn't true. So I'm willing to change my mind. I am always willing to change my mind. I think that that's what makes me different. And I think a lot of our friends in Moms for Liberty, we are not, so we are willing to, we are open-minded, we're willing to listen to arguments and willing to be persuaded where there is that room. And when there's a value that I have that maybe someone else doesn't, it's okay if we disagree. I'm going to maintain my value, you maintain yours. We can still be friends. We just, that might be a subject we don't talk about, but we can be friends. You know, I'm old enough to remember when people didn't have to mirror their friends or their family in order to be connected. Like, you were allowed to have different opinions, and you didn't always talk about politics. I mean, growing up, I didn't know how anyone voted. I didn't start off a conversation like, oh, so who did you vote for in the last election? I didn't care. So I kind of wish we'd go back to that place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it seems to be a common theme in a lot of my conversations right now. And I'm really glad that it's coming up so much, because I do think it's so important to talk about. There seems to be this, you know, witch hunt for not being woke enough. And, you know, like, we don't have to agree. And so I am glad you brought this up too, because I do think that people misunderstand or misinterpret Moms for Liberty. You know, it's like they were upset with me just for going to the event, but it's like, you know, it's very black and white. Like, they have this narrative in their mind about what it is. So it's so nice to hear you say, because I feel the same way, and being open-minded is so important. So going into it, being able to have conversations and dialogues, you know, it's not just like, oh, it's everything is like, we can talk, but we might not agree, and that's okay. And we can be reasonable about it.
I know the number one thing, they're like the book banners.
Yeah.
Early on, I didn't even want to touch the topic of books in school because I saw it as subjective. And what I was thinking about, like, let's say the kite runner. Mm-hmm. that's a good book, but it's a heavy book. And I have children that have read it in high school. The way my district has handled it, especially since I've been very involved and we've really fought for this, it's just to make parents aware, hey, we're going to read this book. There's some really sensitive topics. If you do not want your children to read this book, that's okay. There's some other options. And we can let you know when we're going to head into some of those sensitive chapters. And I went on a walk with my daughter that's recently been through that class, and we talked about it. And she struggled with some of that material, but it was a good way for us to have a conversation. Now I have another daughter who absolutely could not handle that. She's far more sensitive, and I would opt her out. But I know my kids, and I think that I need to be a part of the conversation and be partners. And that's where good teachers and good districts say, we're going to work together. Like, we're going to be partners. We're not going to be enemies. And I think then you have a really productive relationship. So I do not want to ban a book. Like, there's books I don't want to ban. I just think that different parents know their kids better, and they might have some different a different opinion about their kids reading that in school. But where I did finally have to get involved in materials that are in schools came more about what was in elementary schools and middle schools. And there was material that was available to kids in their libraries, and I volunteered in the library many times, and embedded into the curriculum that was not at all age appropriate, that discussed really sensitive topics, and kind of not in any objective way, but with an intended value, like with the goal of, I think, persuading kids and indoctrinating them.
Right.
And that's where I had to say, like, no, this isn't appropriate. And parents should, at the very least, have the right to opt out. But frankly, some of this curriculum is not a part of learning. It's just too ideological for young kids. It's too much for you to try and say that this is really about education. I think it was more about some kind of ideological indoctrination. And this doesn't happen in every district, every school. It does happen, and when it happens, we try to deal with it and try to make parents aware of what's happening and to provide some kind of solution.
You know, this is a prime example of why dialogue and conversations are so important, because I have friends who were mad at me for going to the Moms for Liberty Summit event, right? And exactly what you said, it's, oh, the book banners. And it's like, if they would just listen or have a conversation with you, it would take them to a different level of understanding, because to me, everything that you have said just sounds so reasonable. It's a reasonable expectation to want to have a say and know what's going on. And the fact that you're even comparing, like, you know, your kids differently and their personalities and it just sounds like an involved, concerned, caring parent who really cares. Not people are trying to do harm or anything like that. It sounds completely fair and reasonable, everything.
Yeah, we work really closely in Wisconsin with Gays Against Groomers. Jamie Mitchell lives literally 10 minutes from my house. So she just had a baby shower. Her and her wife are about to have a baby. I love them. I support them. I sent their baby a gift. I know not every conservative agrees with me, but that's okay, because different strokes, different folks. But I'm so happy that we have Gays Against Groomers. They have been so helpful for us in school board meetings where we're being accused of being bigots or homophobic. So I bring my friends, and they'll come and say, hey, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, and I do not want this material in schools. Like, not in my name. That's what they have said, that this material, and if I showed you some of the materials, it would blow your mind, Angela. It really would. There's some pretty crazy things that they are showing to kids, and not even overtly sexual. It's just so much propaganda. I was a Navy wife, and overseas we were forced to watch armed forces television. And when I say forced to watch, it's because the only commercials you saw were so cheesy. They were like government propaganda. It's like, hey, Dad, why are you packing? Why are we moving? And he's like, oh, son, the military is going to send us to a new place. And kids are like, oh, I really like to hear, but it's going to be so great. I mean, it was just like really cheesy stuff. And it's like, oh my God, but that's what these books feel like. They feel like they are promoting something. They're pushing kids to make decisions or to have these feelings or these thoughts or these values. And it feels icky reading them. And I was so happy to work with Democrats, with people like in Gays Against Groomers, that were able to recognize that, okay, I may not agree with you on a lot of things, Scarlett, but I agree with you on this. Like, this is just not appropriate. And I will stand up and say something. So we've had the most success when we can reach across the aisle and have a diverse group saying, nope, we're not going to do this. And I think what's happening like with Tish right now. I think that's a prime example. She just got red pilled. She just got red pilled when there's a dude going like in her locker room, several, and she finally like boom, light bulb, like wait a second, what's going on here? So they weren't lying about this. Maybe they're not lying about some other things. And now she's I have friends in California, and she's looking into things more and more. And she's like, wait a second, they're showing that to kids? Wait a second. Like, and the wheels are rolling. Now, this doesn't say that she's going to go out, she's going to agree with me on everything, but on this, she's coming our way because she had an experience and she now has a more open mind. I don't know if that's what happened with you. Like, there was an experience that kind of opened your mind.
I mean, I think it's a collection of things that are happening over time for me. And so I think I was going to say to your point about all of that, knowledge is power. And like information is good, right? And exposing things and kind of really exposing the truth. And that's why it's so important. It can be scary and uncomfortable to speak up. And like you said, you threw up the first time you get involved and you speak up, about things, but that it's so important. And it's so inspirational I love talking to people who it's like, I went from this to all the things that you've done and fought for because you were that passionate. That lights a fire in other people to do the same thing and be like, if she could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
I think, I'm thinking about people in my life who, for example, who are very critical of all this that I was speaking about, right? Oh, Moms for Liberty, book banners, etc. They don't even have kids. So they don't really know what's going on in the school, right? Like, we haven't been in school for however many years they're my age. And they don't really know. So how can you really make such a sharp judgment when you don't really have all the pieces of the puzzle?
And when you need to attend, I've gone to testify in Madison when I'm testifying bills like Saving Girls Sports, bills that simply just say that biological males cannot compete against biological females. And they created a different league or a different where you could have both males and females competing co-ed. And there's 13 hours of testimony, and you see people that do not look well. Let's just say that they're not well, and they just lined up and they're yelling and screaming at us, and we're just sitting just stoically. We say nothing in response. I never respond unkindness with unkindness or yelling with yelling. And they're like, you're so full of hate. It's just like, you have a mirror? Like, you really should look in the mirror every once in a while. And the media is not there recording it because the optics do not play well for the left. it's not a good look. So you won't see that. So when people come and they see what's happening, I think they have normal people look at it and they think, oh, you don't look crazy, but I can tell you like that they over there, they look a little bit crazy. But other times I will see I will see kids talk, teens, and my heart goes out to them. I'm so sympathetic to what they're going through. I'm sad that the system failed them. I'm sad that adults failed these children. And there's nothing, I can't say one unkind word about these kids who are underage, who are, trapped in this feeling, this dysmorphia. It's really sad, but these kids almost always have a series of other issues, other problems. And I think that a lot of those, the system just did not work for them. It did not protect them, and adults did not protect them, and they're often abused. They might have autism. There's a lot of things going on in the lives of these children, and it's really, really unfortunate that they are either on the verge of taking drugs and hormones and having surgeries that will cause them lifelong hurt, lifelong pain, and they're irreversible. So that makes me really sad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And something I've been asked a lot about my experience with Moms for Liberty at the event and with all of you. And I've gotten nothing but love and positivity. And we've been speaking a lot about this on the left. Unfortunately, it hasn't been. It's been this just hateful. And like you said, it's in those situations, it does take a lot to stay calm if people are attacking you, et cetera. The emotional toll that, this whole litigation legal process, was for you and your family. You powered through, you came out on the other side, and I'm just so happy for you and so inspired by you. And yeah, we have some amazing people in the room ready to join us.
Let's go.
Let's go. We've got Jamie Hinkle in the house and Adam Coleman. Oh my gosh. Surprise.
Hey, Scarlett, Angela.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. This is like a very warm, I've got all the positive feels right now. Well, I was saying we're about 1 month, it's been about 1 month since we all met for the first time at the event. And Scarlett was just sharing, her story about everything that, she's gone through over the past 3 years. And we were just debunking some myths about Moms for Liberty. How so all good stuff. It's just this whole how people were mad at me for wanting to go to the event. So I thank Jamie, because Jamie's the one who reached out initially and invited me. So yeah, Jamie, so we were talking about things that are misunderstood about Moms for Liberty. How long have you been working with Moms for Liberty, and what's your experience?
Yeah, I launched my chapter in the end of May, early June of 2022. So I was a chapter chair up until this past January. We did a lot of great work here in Fauquier County, Virginia. And so I just felt like it was the time that, I needed to refocus on my family and some other things that we're doing. I'm still super connected, school board meetings, all the things. But I stepped away from being a chapter chair and then came back on as their coalition coordinator and partnership manager later on in the spring. And then this was my second year working as the speaker coordinator for Summit, which is just a wild job.
Yeah, I do want to point out, you all worked so hard, tirelessly, running around, not sleeping. I don't think any of you slept.
You're on staff during Summit, you're not sleeping for 5 days.
But just bright and looking beautiful and glowing and smiling and positive, despite it all.
Outside of losing our voice, which I did talk to Tina about. I was like, please don't ever ask me to speak on the very last day of Summit again. I had 0 voice. Like my eye was twitching. It was funny, but yeah. So
What was it that drew you to initially get involved with Moms for Liberty, Jamie? Was it a particular issue or something, that your children were going through?
yeah, I mean, I think like most of us, you're going to find a lot of our stories are very similar. However, with that, I'll say I was a member of Moms for Liberty probably starting in April of 2021. So I had lived in South Florida where obviously Moms for Liberty launched from. And so I was seeing a lot more social media from people that I knew in that area. And so I had become a member. And from that, like I had gotten close to like submitting the I want to start a chapter form a couple of times. And then I would like make some headway with my school board. And I was like, oh, I got this. Like I can do it by myself. And then I would be like, oh, I need help. And it wasn't until April, I guess, then April of 2022 where I actually submitted everything. And I wanted a network. I wanted a network of moms and dads and parents who were doing the exact same thing that I was doing in my county. And it's so crazy because as soon as I submitted my like all the paperwork and started, I found out that Marianne Jensen, who lives 20 minutes from me in Prince William County, and she became the chapter chair. And so, I imagine what our experience through COVID might have been like for our kids if we had known each other and we got, connected on social media that way. And it's so crazy because even like, I'm in Virginia, but Scarlett I met in Philadelphia for the very first time in person. And then I think Adam, that's when you were in Tampa.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been at all of them.
All of the
Yeah,
summits.
all
right?
of them. Yeah.
And so like I was in a breakout session listening to Adam before I even knew Scarlett, who was like a chapter chair. So it is really just crazy how it kind of just brings us all together. And, and it's a really great organization to meet you where you are, really.
I knew Adam before I even knew you, Jamie, because Adam came to talk about critical race theory with James Lindsay with the No Better Friends. So when I went to my first Moms for Liberty Summit, I was like, oh, I hung out with Adam most of the time.
Oh,
I was like, oh, I know him.
Yeah, our like I said, our chapter launched in June of 2022, and the first summit was in July. So I was like off to the races. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was very outside of my comfort zone to leave my family and go to this conference. But it's awesome.
That was my first one too. I didn't know anyone. And then Philadelphia was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. It was a bit worrisome at the end. Like with everyone trying to leave the hotel, and
Right.
some people were hit with objects.
Adam, you should describe what it was like. Adam, tell her what it was like in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Too, if you remember
I didn't go outside much. I mean, thankfully, the conference was in a hotel. We stayed in the hotel, so you didn't have to leave very often. But it was basically
like different doors too, and it really like their barricade was in the front, and it was such a show.
It was mostly at the front, but I did see at one point like it was going off to the side as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was just them making noises and screaming stuff at people, and if they saw that, or if they suspected that you were part of the conference, you got it the worst. Some people were literally hit with objects.
I think that's the only time they've told us like don't wear your Moms for Liberty merch outside of the building.
We couldn't. And when we finally, a group of us went for dinner, and we're going to go for dinner because we had a friend, Meg Brock from Philly, and she had planned this all out. And so we had 2 Ubers, and we thought, okay, we can kind of sneak out. They spotted us, and by then we'd so far our Ubers were just waiting. We just had to make it to the Ubers, but they surrounded us. They surrounded the Uber cars, and they were making it so the Uber cars couldn't leave. They were screaming at us, getting really close. And the police said at a certain point,
driver ended up sending us his video, his dash cam video, just to show how crazy it was, because they that was when I first met Chris. from Washington Examiner because he like ended up escorting us to our Uber.
Yep, they were surrounding the Uber. Our Uber drivers were from another country, and they said they've never seen anything like this before. It was crazy. And he said, who are you guys?
Yeah,
We're moms. We're moms. And they're like, why are you upset? And we started to tell some of the stuff I told you, Angela.
Yeah.
And they proceeded to tell us that like we pulled our kids out of school.
yeah, he was like,
So
that's
bad.
why I pulled my kids out of school.
Yeah. They were like, we think we're going to go back because it's too bad in America. So it's crazy.
That was a wild time.
Good time.
Good
No,
time. Good time.
I'm glad that didn't happen. Whatever, maybe hopefully since, but definitely not the last one, the most recent one. But that's terrible and terrifying. And it really, we've talked a lot about like just the aggression and the anger and just people and it's even kind of happening in the chat, like people making assumptions and creating a narrative. I was speaking to how, friends of mine included who are upset with me for, posting about Moms for Liberty, going to the event when they don't even have children and don't know what's going on in schools and don't know what you're actually doing and fighting for. So it's hard to make such a harsh judgment and be that angry when I feel like people don't even understand what's happening.
I think the ones that are loud know the truth, but they are continuing this narrative.
Yeah, and we got Rosalind back. Rosalind went at the beginning from the White House. Now she's in a whole other place.
No, were you on? Like,
Who am I? Hey, Adam.
Yeah, now everyone's here, Rosalind. So yeah, we're just talking about a lot of things. Just people misunderstanding Moms for Liberty, being really angry, aggressive, the narratives about book banning and all this stuff. And I was saying, I have friends and people who've criticized me but like they don't even actually know, what you're about or what you're really fighting for. And I've just been telling everyone how lovely you all are, and you were so nice to me. And it was just a great time, just full of love and conversations. And so that's why I'm so happy to see all of you today. It's been about a month since we saw each other. Adam, what's your experience been over the years, with Moms for Liberty and why you keep coming back?
Going up for more, Adam.
Well, obviously I'm a glutton for punishment.
Right.
No, so just to backtrack a little bit, I got connected with Moms for Liberty because Tiffany started following me on X and then invited me to the first one. She didn't know. She was like, I just want you to be a part of it somehow. So we just developed a relationship from there, and I consider her a friend. But my funny story with Moms for Liberty is, I write for the Post and on my Substack and tweet stuff all the time. And sometimes people don't like what you say. I pitched writing about the Philadelphia event and my experience to Newsweek. And let me tell you, I've never gotten so many angry emails and so many people pissed off at me because I humanized them.
Right.
Like I was like, they were very nice. And I believe in that. I talked about how the first time I met them was shortly after my father-in-law passed away. And they comforted me and asked me how my family was doing. And how do you get mad at that? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I got my favorite quote. It was from someone who referenced the article, and they put, I don't know who this Adam Coleman person is, but I hate him.
That's what it feels like from our end. It's like, I don't know who you are. I don't even know anything about you, but I hate you.
Right. I thought it was just, that was just beautiful. So I call that fan mail. I got a new fan right there.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Welcome.
Well, I'm also a fan now, so yeah. I mean, I also don't understand how you couldn't be, and I'm so glad that Jamie extended. I know there was some controversy around some questions around inviting me. How are we reflecting on that a month later?
We had a whole breakout reflection session on do we bring libs or not bring libs?
Yeah, like a whole, like, what were you thinking? Like, what are you doing?
You're supposed to be the one with discernment. What did you do?
And I was like, well, first off, you guys, I don't like, I think she's trolling a lot of people. I just want to like put that out there. But yeah, I think we're just as guilty, I guess, of saying like, oh, this is someone who's new and they don't have all the same beliefs or values or whatever the thing is to us, and it's kind of like, well, that hasn't stopped us before. So we, again, like, if we're going to stand by our values, which are the foundation is to build relationships, then like let's put it out there. You could have said no. You could have been like, oh, you're crazy, I hate you.
Well, and a lot of liberals would have and do, right? They get invited on podcasts, etc. And I'm one of the only ones who's like, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but like you hear that a lot.
Right.
But as we've been saying, conversations are good. And I thought it was so cool to talk with you and understand that, because I initially was kind of like, wait, what? Is this a trick? Is this a trick? But when you guys were really like genuine about wanting to bridge gaps.
I didn't invite you and ignore you either. So like we could have done like.
No, you were so welcoming and warm and lovely to me.
And honestly, like it came down to it, Alex Stein was more terrifying to invite than you were.
Yes.
What's the most terrifying about Alex Stein? The most terrifying thing for you?
That he's feral. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're gonna get, and
Yeah.
we try to anticipate.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's probably 100% it. Like when you are like green light go to Alex, it's like you're not exactly sure like how long. I mean, he's hilarious.
You can't trust that science.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a wild card for sure. So that's, yeah.
But some of the things he said, and that's what came down to it. And it's the same with you, Angela. The conversations we've had after, like laughing and joking about it, where he has shown up to city council meetings. He's done the work that we're asking people to do. So how could we not, include him in the conversation?
Yeah. And so speaking of the panels, because Adam, you spoke, and you guys invited me to speak on a panel about social media and, using humor. And this was, from what I understand, the first time you had done a panel like that. How do you think that it went? And Scarlett and Rosalind, you moderated it. How do you guys feel like it went? Was it a success?
I thought it was a huge success. It was interesting, funny, relatable, and I think a lot of people, maybe they were just saying that to me, but they said it was their favorite breakout session. So I think it went really well, and I want to do even more next year.
I think I want to echo, and also I want to congratulate Scarlett for bringing that brainchild to fruition, right? And having that opportunity for, everyday moms. Like, I'm a social media nobody. And there were so many people who took at least one nugget of information away from each one of you who are deciding either to go at it full speed, going at it as you can. We had some moms like leaving crying that session with hope of not necessarily becoming, social media influencers or content creators, but, when you are constantly under attack, kind of like Adam, to your point, saying, the hate that you got or the fan mail that you got, it gave them hope that they aren't alone. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that we can have from Summit, is that we bring like-minded or even not like-minded people together, and they recognize that they have a tribe. They have people who will speak boldly for truth, whatever their version of truth is. And they'll do it in a way that is kind and decent, and finding the humanity in the struggle that is not having a moist simpatico society like we do right now.
I like how you worked boldly into that response.
How much of that can I monetize that? Do I get a royalty there? No. For other grouches.
Beautiful star.
Definitely making a clip of that for sure. No, it was really lovely. And that's touching to know, because you all hear a side of it that I don't necessarily hear. And people might not have been as excited to hear from me that day as other people on the panel, but it was nice and it was refreshing. And the rest of the weekend, I had really great conversations with people about it. And, you know, the conversations continued. And it's really sweet, actually. I exchanged information with one of the ladies I was speaking with, and she recently texted me and was saying, like, because of our conversation, like, I put myself out there and did like XYZ, like, and that was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, and Adam, I mean, this was a big year for Adam, because he was on the panel on the main stage.
The stage.
That's a valuable part of that conversation as a dad who, you know, who has obviously is just that's his primary focus and importance, and adding to that conversation there. And the dad panel, I mean, blew it away. I think by far is one that we've heard so much great feedback on. So thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Adam, what were the highlights? I would love to hear more about, you know, to tell people what it was about and the highlights for you.
No, it's one of those things where I've been saying from the first time I got asked to come to the first summit, I was like, "You're gonna have me speak?" So I was actually supposed to speak, I think in DC, but all types of craziness was happening and plans, so it didn't work out. So I was glad to finally just be on stage for you guys, whether it was by myself or on a panel. I was happy to do that. Next year, goal is solo. Just putting that out there. But no, as far as the panel went, I was actually glad that you guys were doing this in the first place, because I've often asked myself, like, it's great to see the women doing stuff, but where are the guys? Most of the film that I see going around online is moms. Probably like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 times, it's a mother who's going up and screaming and yelling at the school board. So that, you know, I think fathers care, but maybe we're not doing enough, or maybe we've taken a position where that's their duty. My duty is over here, which is why I said, you know, the negligence by some fathers, unfortunately, and maybe men and women have bought into this, is that as long as I bring home money, then my job is good. I get to come home, put my feet up, and go to sleep. But being a parent requires that you're a parent. Like, you have a job. You have to make sure your kids are good. You should care as far as, like, are they on par with school? Are you safe? Is everything all right? Is there anything you want to talk about? You know, spend your time with your kids, and not just take this position where you're just the income earner. And women shouldn't accept that position from their husbands, that he's just out there making money, and so everything else is just on me. That's an unfair proposition, and your kids need both. So it's good to bring that up, that it's both. You know, both people need to be held accountable.
Well, I love that you're spreading that message. It's a really important. I'm sure all of the women were really happy in the room. Did you get some positive feedback afterwards? I'm sure that you did.
Oh yeah. So I praise the Lord, because I feel like I've been given, just so people understand, like, if you saw me 10 years ago, like, you wouldn't suspect that I'd be standing up in front of people talking about my feelings about anything. I'm a very quiet, reserved person. So all of this stuff that I've been doing over the past 4 to 5 years is different for me. But when I do speak, people tend to listen and they understand that I'm being sincere about what I'm talking about. Um, and so when I speak from the heart and people feel it in their heart. So this is not the first time. This has happened multiple times where after I speak very heartfelt, I have people coming to me and telling me very personal things and often crying as they're talking about whatever is going on. And I give them a hug and I console them and I give them my 2 cents. A young man, 18 years old, came afterwards, and his father wasn't there when he was growing up, but his father's trying to connect with him, and and he's not sure if he should. And I explained to him, like, I understand you're scared that he may hurt you, but it's worth it, because if you're going to love someone, you have to risk being hurt. You love anyone, you have to risk being hurt, right? But the risk is worth it. And so I don't know your father. He didn't say like his father was this crazy person or anything like that. I don't know the circumstance. But the fact that his father's reaching out to him and wants to build something is a really good sign. But I told him it's okay that you feel that way, but don't let it stop you from something that could potentially be beautiful. And so the next day when I was getting on the plane, he sent me a message saying that he told his father that he'll meet up with him, and his father's happy, and they're trying to build that connection. So, and that is amongst other conversations that I had with people. So, speaking on stage is not about me. It's about whatever I'm talking about. It's about helping people and healing people. Same thing when I went to GenSpect. They're dealing with the trans issue. And the trans issue is just this mask for children who are hurting.
Yeah.
And they're struggling to fit in. And they're just being captured by something that tells them something is wrong with you. And they've accepted that premise. And it's not till later, after they harmed themselves, that they realize, no, something's not wrong with me. This is the wrong direction. But they're still struggling. And so, having detransitioners come up to you and crying, having parents who are struggling with children, trying to build that relationship with their kids, even though their kids are being told to just disassociate with everyone, go be trans elsewhere. Like what to do. Like these are real family issues that people are facing. And so usually the issue, as James Lindsay says, the issue is not the issue. I mean, in a different way, the issue is not really the issue when it comes to this stuff. All this is relationship stuff. All this is family issues. And we're just getting caught up on the surface level stuff. We need to go at the root cause of it.
Yep. Adam, I think I became a lot more invested in what was happening to children as far as medical and the chemical transitioning of children when I first met the first group of detransitioners at an event, Gender Ideology Summit, put on by the Heritage Foundation in DC. Jamie, you were there as well. And when I first met Chloe Cole, and then there was a large group of detransitioners. Chloe Cole was on stage, and I was just weeping. I was just crying, listening to her story, and then talking to these other girls and what they had gone through, and the adults that had failed them, and the system that had failed them, and the irreversible damage that had been done to them. And I felt that could be my daughter. There, but for the grace of God, go I. Under the wrong circumstances, the wrong classroom, the wrong teacher, and that could be any one of our kids. They could be going through a hard time, and then at just that moment, they're going through puberty, and then bam. So I also have talked with a lot of parents, like with GenSpec, Adam, large groups of parents that have children who have transitioned. And that is probably one of the saddest meetings I've ever been to. I went to a 2-day session, and it's heartbreaking what these families have been put through. And you're never the same. You're never the same after you experience it.
Yeah.
Well, I think this also just speaks to, the power of information again and stories. And, you know, when you hear about people's experience, it can open and change your mind about things. And that's, I wish more people would be open to that. Like, I feel like a lot of people are making judgments and decisions and have these thoughts without having, as we've been saying, right, all the pieces of the puzzle, or even really knowing the struggle and what's going on. Having clear stories and cases of, instead of just making these, you know, blanket statements and things like that. Yeah.
If I can say something, I'm
Yeah.
actually I think it's going to be out maybe January or sometime. I'm going to be in a documentary talking about family dynamic and family separation. Actually, Katie Faust is the one who is making the film. So I filmed it. I filmed my portion some months ago now. It's probably like 6 months ago, 5 or 6 months ago. But I think it's coming out in January. But we, as what you were saying, you move people by telling stories. You know, right or wrong, or whether you agree or disagree, the world changed because of George Floyd. And it's just one story. You don't need 25 stories, 1,000 stories. If you have one compelling story and you maximize on that story, you can get change. And so I wish more people would understand that. It's the stories that move people. Storytelling is the oldest thing that humans have been doing. Showing facts and figures. All right, you know, that's what it is. Even telling people, right? Hey, this is bad. They're like, yeah, okay, it sounds bad. But then having an example or having a video, it reminds me of Ray Rice. He was a football player. He got suspended for punching his wife in the elevator. Everyone knew that he got suspended for punching his wife in the elevator. He was going to come back and he was going to miss a few games and something like that. And then they released a video of him punching his wife in the elevator, and he never played a game ever again.
Nope.
So that tells you they can hear it, but when they see it or see an example of what that is, it is different for people. Even though it's the same details, but it's different to have a very human representation of what you're talking about. And there needs to be more of that highlighting of stories to really change people's hearts.
Yep. 100% agree. I mean, that's why they hate, like Riley Gaines has, everywhere she goes, she has to be surrounded by all these bodyguards. I think they fear her story. Chloe Cole, the same. They fear that story. They fear that getting out because it so undermines the narrative. And she's so pure and innocent. Chloe's just, you can't say, I don't think I've ever heard her say one unkind thing. Like, she's just such a good representation of the harm that can happen. And I think that's why they go after her so hard.
Yeah.
Angela,
Absolutely.
can I ask you a hypothetical question, maybe?
Yeah.
Like Adam, to like about storytelling, and I'll relate it to the Attorney General election in Virginia, Jay Jones, and the horrific texts he wrote about his political opponent. If there had been more advertisement showcasing the family he was talking about, or if the family he was talking about had made more public statements, do you think, like Adam talking to storytelling and Angela, the conversations that you're having, do you think that would have had a bigger impact on the election results and him getting elected despite those horrific, unconscionable things he said?
Yes, but what's the best way of putting this? So we're all politically minded, but we don't get 100% turnout at elections, right? So we get, was it 20, 30, some places 40% turnout of registered voters, right? So obviously not every adult is registered. So what I know for a lot of Republicans and conservatives, they hold this up as they're fine with this. When the reality is probably most of those people don't even know about it.
I agree.
And the reason I would say that is because, see, I'm in a media now, and I understand it, that we are siloed. And it's very difficult for people to understand that there are multiple things happening they have no idea about, which is why if you get into a conversation, if you're on the right, you talk to someone who's on the left, you'll tell them stuff that they've never heard of. And you're like, how have you never heard this? We've been talking about this for years. They've never heard it. And this may be someone who's politically minded. And then they might actually say something that you've never heard of. And you're like, well, I never heard that thing either. Like, it's because we're being siloed as far as what information one particular outlet puts out versus another outlet. Everyone claims that they're showing the truth and they're being non-biased, but obviously they're all being biased. And there's very few outlets that are at least honest about their bias, right? You go to Daily Wire, we're a conservative outlet. You go to The Blaze, we're a conservative outlet. You go to NBC, we're the truth. We're unbiased. We're professionals. Yet they clearly have a bias. So I think the story that we were talking about as far as text messages, this is much more of a silo issue. Just people just don't even know about it, right? It would be obvious for Republicans to hone in on this very thing, and they're right to do so. But from the other side, I think some people may minimize it because it's their team, which everyone does that when it's their team. But then the rest may not have even heard of it. They didn't even know it was a story. Why would MSNBC talk about those text messages? It's not beneficial to Democrats.
Well, I think what Roslyn is saying, because that's an interesting perspective, that you have to make them talk about it, and they might have had to talk about it if there was a face. If the wife and the kids had gone forward and put a face to that, because I actually don't even know the name of the people that they were talking about. I only know ambiguously there was the wife of an opponent and 2 children. I don't know what they look like or anything. Have a face and that empathy, then might have forced that conversation if there had been a public statement made in which the kids came out and the family came out and they said how hurt they were. I think that would have probably propelled the story a little farther. But Adam, you're right. I just talked with someone on the right who said, Scarlett, you can't be nice anymore. They want us all dead. Look at what happened in Virginia. They voted for someone and I said, no. I promise, I'm actually going to disagree with you there. I think that if you went around and asked the average Virginia Democrat who Jay Jones is or what was happening specifically, they would claim some sort of ignorance, or they would say that was exaggerated. There's more to that story. They wouldn't trust the messenger if it came, like Adam said, from Daily Wire or it came from Fox News. They would immediately just not even trust the story. And I know how they feel because I don't trust the stories that come straight out of MSNBC. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna verify that. So I do think that we should not read too much into what happened with Jay Jones. I am concerned about it. I am concerned more that Democrats who know that it was true, like the elected Virginia officials, Jamie, like the people who absolutely know it's true, did nothing. So I'm very concerned about that. But the voter, I think a lot of them either didn't know the full story, didn't want to know, or they blew it off because the messenger.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, so many good points. I agree with everything. I think people, when it doesn't fit with their side, tend to dismiss things a lot. I see my friends doing that all the time, where now they're, questioning the election results. And it's like, well, guys, you didn't think it was cool when, the right was doing that. So why are we doing that? There's a lot of these 2 wrongs don't make a right. I'm trying to make that point, right? To my friends of this doesn't make it okay, because I'll call out AOC, oh, I don't think it's cool that AOC attacked Riley Gaines, right? I don't think it's cool that she insulted her, she shouldn't have done that. And then they're like, well, but the right does this, so if we don't do it's 2 wrongs don't make a right. So there's a lot of defensiveness when it comes to that piece that Scarlett you were speaking to. And I do, from a mental health perspective and the whole storytelling perspective and the empathy perspective, think that it's true. If you did have a visual and you could, feel more for the family, like it would, I do think people tend to need to kind of feel something, to feel the passion enough to want to vote or want to do something. And I think a lot of people have checked out in a lot of ways. A lot of people I feel like are like not even trying to follow politics right now. If it's not affecting them personally, they're not. So I think there's a lot of that going on. So people really do have to kind of care enough to want to take action and do something.
Well, Jamie, you're a Virginian. What's your opinion?
I mean, I think you've all made great points, and I can see it from all sides. I have a ton of, you know, all my friends are conservative outside of Angela, I think. And so, but you know, most of them are, as she said, like not really as politically involved. They vote, but they're not, you know, kind of peeling back the layers on the, you know, the drama part of it, the dramatic side. They knew who they were going to vote for before they went into the ballot box. And I have to be quite honest. I mean, if you were voting for Abigail Spanberger, it was unlikely that you were not going to vote down ballot. And so I don't know if it would necessarily make a difference, you know, who was involved in what when. You could maybe not vote for the attorney general candidate, but I don't think you were going to, you know, switch your vote and say, oh, I think Jason Miyares is our guy. So, you know,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, like, as a Virginian, it's like, this is where we are. I think that the Virginia GOP has probably a lot of reevaluating how we're running races and supporting candidates. And I really hope, you know, we have elections every single year in Virginia, that maybe at one of these cycles, we're going to change some things up.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is the most that you could hope for in this particular scandal is to give the impression that there is outrage so that the Democrats react by forcing him out. In the same way, like, look at Joe Biden, right? As much as we said the man was senile, they still did nothing until it became apparently very obvious. And then the Democrats reacted and yanked him. So that's the most that you can really ask for. 100% fair to say that if someone's a Democrat, they're voting down ballot. They might not even know or have heard of everything that you're talking about. But I wanted I have like a general, I don't want to say philosophy or way of thinking when it comes to how people vote. I think people should understand the reason you wouldn't vote for the opposition party is not necessarily the reason why someone is voting for the opposition party. So if you understand that, then you'll start to try to pick apart, well, why are they supporting this party?
Well, of course,
Right.
the Democratic, their campaign here was all about the economy, right? Energy crisis, all this. And then I'm saying, like, well, Abigail Spanberger can't, you know, thinks boys can be girls. Like, we were, like you're saying, Adam, our reasoning for not voting was nothing compared to the reason that someone was going in to vote for them, which had a lot to do with, I think, Doge and the shutdown and all, you know, the ripple effect that really didn't have anything to do with the culture war issues that a lot of us are, you know, have risen to the top of what I'm looking at for my school board and education in Virginia. It's totally different.
Yeah. And there was a period in Virginia where the very thing that you were talking about actually was the thing that really moved people to vote, because it was a big issue at that moment, you know, just coming out of the pandemic and all this stuff was coming to light. So yes, at that moment, absolutely. But generally speaking, I go back to the famous phrase of, it's the economy, stupid. Like, it's always the economy. Like, that's why I said, like, if Trump didn't have COVID, he would have been reelected easy because the economy was good. Whether it's his doing or not, it doesn't matter. People associate a good or bad economy as being the president's doing. And so right now, I voted for Trump, but I will say that, and this is not necessarily all his doing, but we are at a turning point when it comes to our economy. He can go on TV and talk about the jobs numbers and everything is great, which that's what every president does, whether it's true or not. But I'm seeing 50,000 people laid off, 100,000 people laid off. Virginians are seeing their friends who work for the government being furloughed, or Doge cut their jobs, which some of them should have been cut. But you have ramifications for that, right?
Yep.
So do you expect those people who were cut from their job to vote for the very party that led for them to be unemployed, right? So that these particular actions have political ramifications. And so, yeah, it's going to be about the economy like 9 times out of 10. You're going to have to focus on the economy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the messaging on the economy has got to improve over the next 12 months. It has to. And the things that families and average people are struggling with, the more high price of homes, cost of food, cost to buy things, cost of college, tuition, all the things. Because across the board, when I was just talking to a friend this morning who's very conservative, and she said her husband, who is also very conservative, went to the grocery store the other day and came back, and he's like, I am so frustrated by how much things cost. Is anything going to change? So this is a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where there are a lot of massive changes, partly due to Trump and partly other reasons. Some of these things are massive changes that were going to happen whether Trump is in office or not. Like, we are having to deal with AI. I'm actually going to work on something for the New York Post talking about this very thing. But we just had an open socialist. I believe New York has had 2 socialists, but one was more undercover. We've now have an open socialist who is running New York City, or who will be soon running New York City. And the question is, well, why? And it's not just because hipsters in Brooklyn think he's cool and they like the idea of socialism, or that radical guy that shows up on your Twitter feed. It's because
A little bit, but
it's a little bit. It's a little bit.
My algorithms are full of people dancing for Mondami. It's absolutely insane.
little bit.
It's
A little bit.
It's a little bit. That's definitely his constituency, but it's a little bit more to it. What we see with Mamdani, one, socialists always get the issue correct, that there is an affordability problem. Anyone with 2 eyes can see that it is too expensive in New York City. It's too expensive in America, just in general, right? Inflation, housing, the list goes on, energy costs, everything is becoming more expensive. So they can identify that issue and they'll speak very loudly about it, but their solutions are terrible, right? And some of those solutions are evil. But if we continue to go down this path of having a society that not only invests in AI, which everyone now is talking about and is concerned with, rightfully so, but what we're not talking about is robotics. See, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, AI is just going to wipe out that one guy's white collar job, or that this person's job here. Well, combine that with robotics, anyone's job can be replaced. And that's literally what Amazon is doing right now. Amazon wants to have 75%, they want to have their workforce, 75% of their workforce as being automated. Now, what does automated mean? Because it sounds, 75 is automated, but what does that mean when it's primarily pick and pack? Well, it's because they're going to have robots, and they've already started doing that. They have very smart robots, technology combined with artificial intelligence. They'll have a handful of people who are overseeing and making sure there's no quirks, and that's how they're going to make the operation go. They've already bragged about using drones to drop off packages, right? And Amazon is one of the biggest employers in this country.
Yep.
So just imagine all those people who live in Missouri, who work at an Amazon warehouse because there's not a whole lot of jobs. Middle of nowhere, middle America, where the factory jobs left decades ago, and at least Amazon pops up and there's a Walmart. Well, if they combine that with robotics, it's endless. as to how many people are going to become unemployed. And my argument within this article is going to be, if we keep going down this path, because this isn't like people talking about, well, there's always technology. You know, when the printing press came, and I was like, it's not the same. It's not. This is a rapid pace that it is happening. In 5 years, America is going to be unrecognizable. What are people going to do?
Well, and I
And
think
that's
that the
when-
point, yeah, like we're leaning
Yeah.
into a universal salary, a universal income,
Yes.
because we're going to
Yeah.
have more people than jobs, and so we're worried about SNAP benefits and that being inflated, and supposedly there's going to be some solution to that, but ultimately that's where this is headed. AI is going to force universal income.
Exactly. And it's going to force people to say, you know what? We've tried the democracy thing. Well, you know what? Let's try the socialism thing, because democracy is not working, because I've been unemployed for years now and I'm living off the government dole. And it should have been a wake-up call that we've been going in this direction. One, because we elected Trump. Trump was elected because of the government establishment ignoring the people who are struggling. But what just happened with this shutdown, to find out that 40% of Americans are on SNAP benefits, should be alarming to people. That should be like a massive alarm. And even if some of it is fraud, which, yeah, there's going to be always government fraud, it's not 10% fraud. It's not 20% fraud. So if you told me 30% of Americans are on SNAP benefits, I'd be like, something is terribly wrong. That the government is being used to feed 30% of Americans. What is happening? And no one seems to be raising the alarm. They say they just want to get the government back open and continue the process. But what's going to happen when it's 50%, 60%?
Well, the government
going
that
to
feeds
happen?
you is the government that can also starve you, and that's the terrifying thing.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I just see this going in a terrible direction. Elon's all in on robotics. Everyone thinks it's cute. Elon opened up that diner. They're like, well, you go in that diner, there's no one there, you get served. It's like, stupid. This is the prototype.
This is an apocalyptic reality.
Right. And we're going to have technocrats. I even saw someone stupid say, I don't normally call people stupid, but I think this is a stupid
What's your
idea.
line for stupid? So we can be clear.
My
It's
line
gonna
for
be above
stupid.
it.
More about this, Adam. The judgment call ourselves.
I think
My-
Jamie and I literally chat GPT what's the barometer for stupid 2 days
I
ago.
did.
Not gonna lie.
My line for stupid is someone who so brazenly and confidently says something that is so dumb. Like, we all say stuff when we're wrong, but this is when someone is so confident about being wrong. That's the epitome of being stupid. But
I
this
have one
person
thing
said,
it was 3 steps of like identifying the stupid, right, in the situation. But like it came down to, if stupid has become the culture, meaning mediocrity is rewarded and logic is treated as rebellion, you may need to do X, Y, and Z. And we were like, okay, we're there.
yeah. But this guy was saying, because he's looking at all these people who are on SNAP benefits, and he's saying, you know what, we should have something where the more taxes you pay, the more voting power you get. And I'm like, well, stupid, that means Elon Musk would have the most voting power in the country. Congratulations. And he would be unelected. Like, do you see how dumb that sounds? But we have people who are looking at the opposite problem. They think that the problem is these freeloaders who are on SNAP benefits. And it's like, no, stupid, that we have an environment where it requires that there is 40% of people who are going to the government because they need help. And you're blaming the victim of these circumstances. But then you want to reward Elon for taking Mammy's job at the diner with a robot. And no one can get a warehouse job anymore because Amazon and Jeff Bezos don't have enough capital. They just need more. And you know what? Those pesky labor charges. You know, robots don't sue for sexual harassment and they don't have to take piss breaks. So, you know, this is the future that we're creating. And some of the people on the right are focusing on the wrong thing. And we're going to get more Mamdanis. The DSA is going to be the biggest political lobbyists if we keep going this direction. That's what it is.
Speaking of things that sound good, but we don't know how they're going to happen. Free childcare and free buses are terrible and evil. Sure.
Well, nothing's free. I mean, I have to go though. Angela, thank you so much for having me. I have to run out to my daughter's last middle school basketball game. This has been lovely, fun. Always love seeing your faces. And so thank you for having me. But and we'll talk soon.
I know you didn't have a lot of time today, and I'm so glad that you were here because I really wanted this group to be together.
Why?
They're gonna have to answer for that. So.
She's a glutton for punishment.
No, I love you, Jamie. Thank you. So is there anything else you want to shout out or promote real quick, or everybody can see your handle?
Like keep having conversations, shoot your shot, see where it lands up. And don't forget to be funny, and cursing is fine, but you have to send money to Tina. So.
No, we decided we're changing that. The swear jar for liberty.org goes to the donate button.
94-letter words, so. Got to keep the lights on.
Good to know. Well, have fun at the basketball game. I love basketball. I wish I could come with you.
Oh, I would love that. I'm about to enter another season with my daughter in high school, so basketball all the time.
That's so fun. All right. Well, thanks so much, Jamie. I appreciate you.
See ya. Hey, Angela.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that comment?
Yeah. I totally wanted you to because I knew you would have a great response. I was like, but then I wanted to give, please, because you're so smart.
So my response is sometimes people need to listen instead of hearing so they can respond. I said some of their ideas are evil. I didn't say every idea that a socialist says is evil. And I didn't actually say that all socialists have evil intentions, right? I said that they identify the issue. Mamdani speaks to real issues, yes, which is why it resonates with some people, right? But the problem is the solutions. And I said some of those solutions are evil. I didn't say free childcare is evil. Do I think it's logical? That's a different story. Do I think it's possible to do and maintain a city budget? Remember, New York City can't print money. It's not the federal government. So they have to have that money come from somewhere. With all these different policy changes that he wants, are you going to maintain that tax base? Because the tax base isn't the person who makes $40, $50, $60, or even $80,000 a year, right? The tax base comes from the top 10% of income earners in this country. That's the tax base. And that tax base can leave. They can go elsewhere. They can just go outside of the city. They can just go to Westchester County. They can come to New Jersey and still go inside New York and maintain their office or work remote, right? Yeah. So my response is that you should listen and not hear to respond, because I didn't say all of them are. I said some of them are.
I think that it all. So what's the response to this? Because it's here, free healthcare, free this, free that, like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. It's really hard to be the adult when someone is messaging free stuff, and we'll find someone will pay for it. They'll be wealthy. We'll have the wealthy. They could confiscate all of the wealth of every millionaire, billionaire in New York and not be able to pay for all the things that are promised. It's just not possible. And like Adam says, then you will have those who are the big earners and they have the companies. They will just pick up and they're going to leave. So then what happens? I mean, Ayn Rand has Atlas Shrugged. A lot of her other works talk about this. If a government operates where it's bending to the will of like almost locusts who are constantly looking for, a host, eventually you run out of a host. And then you end up with a society that falls apart. So you're always trying to find a balance. You're trying to, you don't want people, the majority of people, working class people, people that are the backbone of the country to not be able to afford groceries or to not be able to live a life that brings them some sort of happiness, to go on a vacation every once in a while, to be able to pay their bills, to have their kids go to school, to save up enough to maybe send them to even a local college. When they can't do any of these things, when they are deep in credit card debt and all of that, then there's going to be like huge societal problems. And I don't even pretend to know how to fix them, but I can say that free childcare will mean that it will be substandard childcare offered for free, and those who can afford it will still pay for private care. And that's the way it'll be, because there'll be a lot of parents that will not say, I'm not. That's great for you. That's great that you can have the government run daycare. And when you look at what's happening in public schools, like, very scary a thought of having a government run daycare where infants who cannot communicate and tell parents what's happening. That doesn't sound ideal to me, but I also understand, because I have my daughter, I have a 2-year-old grandson, how challenging it is to afford childcare. People have to, it is so expensive. A good childcare is at least $300 to $350 a week. And that's good. That's not great. That's good. And that is usually subsidized. Even at that price, there's some level of subsidy. It is very, very hard for young families to find a daycare, even part-time. And in this economy, more often than not, both parents have to work. And we may not like it, but that's the way it is.
I don't know if I can weigh in here, or if you want to like go to something else. I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
No, please weigh in, Rosalind, please.
So Adam, I think your point is right. Like, you didn't say all things are free, but we also have to recognize what our definition of free is, because nothing is really free. And so the government paying for it means somebody else is. And to your point, Adam, earlier, like in our society in America, we have seen a downgrading, or the nuclear family and multi-generational family doesn't exist really more. Like 3 or 4 generations living in a house, because free could also be grandma and granddad watching the children, right? So when we don't have a culture that supports nuclear families or elder generational support, right, we have this individualistic society. And let's not forget that the group that carried Mamdani the most are liberal white women, right, who aren't at home, who are sending their children out of the house, right? Like, when we have lost the identity of the family to solve our problems first, free childcare, if we fixed our cultural issues in our society, could start at home first. Charity starts at home.
Did you see the Wall Street Journal article? This was a few months ago, and it was the new grandmother, and it's kind of women my age who they work part-time, and then they're taking care of their grandchildren. They're still in the workforce. They're young enough. They're still in the workforce. So, but they're helping their children watch kids so that their children can manage. It's sort of this cooperative. And I liked that article because it reflected that families pitching in, working together, making a little bit of sacrifice so that things could be manageable. And so just throwing that out there, I thought that was a solution, but a reflection of where we are as a society, how things are different.
That's interesting, because the new grandma is a lot like the old grandma.
My daughter's moving back as soon as possible. Her husband is done with active duty in July. They're going to be here like July 15th because she cannot wait to have grandma. She's like, here you go. And I can't wait to have them. So,
you know, I wrote something for Dad Save America talking about this very thing. And actually, it was someone who reached out to me because they saw an appearance that I did. And they brought this up. And I was like, you know, I never thought about that. And it made me really reflect. I should reach out to the guy and tell him, like, thank you for bringing that up. But you made me really reflect about the grandparent angle, because I'm talking about both parents should stay together, do the best they can, sacrifice for their children. But what he was saying, previous generations had grandparents to help alleviate, because if it's just like, let's say you're 25, 28 years old, you get married, you have now 2 kids by the age of 30, right? So now it's all on YouTube. And so there has to be some sort of relief, because you're still a couple, right? So you're dad and mom, but you're also supposed to be husband and wife. And here come the grandparents to say, I'll watch them for the night. Tonight, you go out, enjoy yourselves.
Yep.
Right. So you can still maintain that relationship, because people are getting divorced because the relationship is breaking down, not because the kids did something wrong. And so the grandparents are supposed to be there, or have traditionally been there, to help when it comes to raising the kids, to spoil the kids and stuff like that, to develop a different type of relationship with the children, and give the parents a little bit of separation so they can maintain their relationship. Because we can all get caught up in the mundane, every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's the same thing. But to have that where you can have a date night, where you can go out because the grandparents are stepping in, and they want to see their grandkids, right? So it's not a burden. And hopefully the grandparents aren't charging, to spend time. I've heard stuff like that. I'm like, that's strange to me. But they're not charging to spend time with their grandkids.
I'll pay them to go out so I can have. Here's
Aw.
the
So
money. Go.
let's replace government-run daycare with grandma-run daycare. Different G.
Well,
Right.
and even more than that, Adam, aunts, uncles, like so my daughter has there's a large family. So not only when she comes into town, my sister wants to watch my nieces. So there's just this whole extended, and I've watched my nephews and my niece, when my, like, someone's sick, bring the kids over, I'll make them dinner, they can stay here. This whole like extended network that comes in and mobilizes when there's need, and when everyone's living far apart, or you're having 1 or 2 kids and there isn't this extended network, it's really hard.
And you know what? Within that article, I talked about this. We have like these different grandparents who now, what's the best way of putting it? They've been so focused on retirement, so I can do me now. And so then they go anywhere and everywhere. And I've seen, because I travel and I watch a lot of like YouTube videos of different travel YouTubers and stuff like that. But I've come across the people who moved to Thailand, who moved to Panama, right? It's cheaper, it's nice, it has everything that they want. Some of them buy property, right? And they like it there. But then I would sometimes see that they left. And the one particular couple I'm thinking of I think it was in Panama or somewhere in Central America. And they decided to leave, not because of the country, but because they wanted to be closer to their family. And that means a lot. And it made me really think about it, because, I'm in the most expensive state in the country. And, I fantasize about leaving and going somewhere where I can afford, right? And more Americans are becoming transient because the economy is so crazy. But at the same time, my son, he's 20 now and he lives in Pennsylvania. Do I want to move away from my son just so I can pay less in rent, or to buy a house that I can actually afford? Is that worth it? Like, I want to be there for my son. For all I know, he may get married in a handful of years and have his first kid. Like, I want to be there for my grandchild. Like, I don't want to be a grandparent over Zoom. So
It's hard. That's what I'll stay with. If my kids are here in Wisconsin, I'm not moving to Florida, even if it gets bluer and bluer. Like, I'm staying here because I'm going to be by my kids. Like, that's priority for me.
Or the entire family goes.
Yes, or they all come with me. Yes.
Yeah. It used to be a thing where the entire family, we're all moving up north. We're all moving, like, People used to do that.
I know my
Um,
sister is like going to be in Florida soon enough, and I'm like, oh, then we have to bring mom, dad, all
yeah,
move the whole
exactly.
clan.
So, but yeah.
See, this really speaks to like the stories though, right? Like, so hearing your personal stories about your family and what's important to you, people connect to that. It makes sense why affordability is such an issue for so many people, right? You just gave a perfect example of it, how it pertains to you and your family personally, and the struggle there, right? Like having to even like, you know, face those challenges and make those decisions. So yeah, again, with the personal stories, I think that really, you know, that's what touches people and that's what they care about. And we can all relate
Absolutely.
to that. So it's, you know, it's nice for you to share that.
No, I
Wow.
mean, it shows how complicated everything is. Like there's easy one-liners you can say in politics, but things get complicated. And when people are involved, humans are involved, and you care, then that's the way it is. So, what are the solutions? You know, that's the question.
Yeah.
There's no solutions, but the AI thing scares me, Adam. When you start talking about the AI, like, oh, just keep thinking of the Matrix. Oh,
I mean, we're not that far off.
I
I
thought
mean,
you were about to say, oh, it's not so bad, but you're like, oh no, we're not that far off. We're really
doomed. We're doomed. Yeah.
We are
batteries.
100%
We are this
approaching the
close to
matrix.
becoming batteries.
100. I'm with Adam on this. Like, it's here, baby. Like, so we gotta like figure out a solution quick.
I'm in
Yeah.
denial.
listen, some
river.
people want to pretend that the steak is real. I got you. I understand.
It is. It looks good. I know. I love
It looks
the
good.
Matrix.
No, I do think that we should be concerned. And I'm saying this as someone who, for many years, has worked in technology. I've always liked and loathed technology at the same time. I see the great things that it can do, but I can also see when you have people who have no boundaries when it comes to technology. Same thing with medical technology. You know, if you gave it to certain Chinese scientists, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't care if I cut up this person. We're doing it for medical science to discover this." And it's like, no, but that's inhumane. Like that's an unethical, right?
I
And
think
we don't.
that's the boundary with technology is when do you
Yeah,
use it to falsify something? When do you use it when the truth is no longer what the end result is by using the technology? And I think we're there. Like there are people using AI to deceive and distort and to spread false information.
yeah. I mean, there is that, and that type of stuff. I think most people can agree with. But I'm saying, is it ethical to get rid of 50% of the workforce in a decade? Is that ethical? And the argument is always, well, if we don't do it, China's going to do it. And let me tell you, China is a paper tiger. China relies off of us, right? China can't. Let me tell you, China's been trying to make EV cars, and they're all terrible. they're all terrible. They all catch on fire. There's a reason why they don't sell them over here. Like they're all terrible. China cuts corners. China can't invent anything on their own as of this particular regime, which is why they steal our intellectual property. So everyone's worried about China and what they're going to do, but China can't develop anything on their own. Like we are the ones who lead the world when it comes to innovation. We're the ones who set the example in an array of things. And we also set the example when it comes to doing things that are ethical, right? Whether people agree that we do or don't, it's a different story. But people look at the United States, and I've met people from abroad, and they look at the United States as up here, and they watch what we do, and we're setting the example. And if we set a limitation or a practice that is unethical, there's no reason why we need to get rid of people in diners. There's never been a point where we're like, you know what, this place needs robots. Like no one has ever thought that. But if you give people with massive amounts of money and power and time, they'll just keep going as if there's no end to it, as if there's nothing that's out of bounds. And so my question is, as someone who appreciates technology but also loathes it equally, where is the ethics? What are the ethics when it comes to technology? How far can we actually go? Because we could have an AI president, like we just need someone to make decisions. Do we not trust human beings to make decisions anymore? And we should just let the AI president do it? Because the AI, once again, the key word is artificial. It's not
What
real.
the solution is, Adam? What should we do?
Well, what we should do from a technological standpoint, and I'm not hopeful of this, the way I've always seen government is supposed to be the referee. It sets the rules. Here's what you're allowed to do. Here's what you're not allowed to do. The problem is that when it comes to technology, we don't have a whole lot of rules because the people in government don't understand it whatsoever. I always go back to when Mark Zuckerberg is testifying. We're not testifying, but he's in front of Congress, and they're asking him about how email works, as if this is 1995. Like they still can't grasp that. How are they going to be able to grasp robot technology and the ethics behind it, and AI and how it functions? What like the mechanism for it to function in the first place, and all this other stuff. How are they going to be able to grasp that enough to even somewhat regulate it? So not all regulation is good, not all regulation is bad. We need smart regulation about what you can and can't do. And trust and believe, we have regulations for all different types of industries as far as what they can and can't do. So we should not pretend that that doesn't exist. Like what I'm saying is this radical thing that we should regulate tech. Just so that people can have a purpose, they can have a way to take care of their family. And I don't think it's economical for everyone or even half the country to be reliant on the federal government or even their state government to live. That's not efficient. That is a sign of doom. We will fail if it becomes that. In the meantime, if you want dystopia and you want to set no guardrails and you just want to keep going on, which is the path that we're onto, then Elon Musk will be the arbiter of whatever happens in this country. And him, Jeff Bezos, and all other tech overlords will be the ones who are flipping the switch in what happens in this country. And I don't want that. There are things I like about Elon, but there are definitely things I don't like about what he's doing. He thinks all technology is good, and he just wants to go all the way through to and over technologize. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
But you guys understand
What about Peter Thiel? What do you think of him? He said some weird things too.
I have mixed feelings when it comes to him on a professional level and on a personal level. While I do appreciate that he bought X from a standpoint of allowing people to speak, I also recognize that him buying X and setting the standard as free speech has made it a worse product, in my opinion. The standard shouldn't be free speech. If people misunderstand, free speech means that the government can't censor you. So no, Elon should not be pressured by the federal government to tell Angela to be quiet, right? That's free speech. But if you come into my house and you're screaming all types of absurdities, I'm allowed to kick you out. There's nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with old Twitter other than not setting equal rules. They just didn't have clear rules as to what you could say, and they just made it arbitrary. That was the only real problem. Well, there's other problems, but that was the massive problem. As that it wasn't that they weren't free speech, but once they made the bar extremely low that free speech is allowed, now we have open Semitism. Now we have open racism. Now we have all this other stuff that is happening. Now it's not enjoyable. It's not fun, right? We used to just battle from an ideological standpoint. Now we can't even get to that point because, oh, you're a Jew, is the response. Like, that's because he lowered the bar. And I have no problem with sending people to their underground lair. So you want to be homophobes and racist and all this other stuff. You want to be that there? Go be that there. Gab existed for a reason. But when he wanted to, let's just have free speech, free speech. Everyone thinks that's a great idea, but trust, you don't want to live in a house filled with crazy people. If we had an apartment building and we have 50 people that live there, and you find out that 5 of them are absolutely batshit crazy, would you feel safe in that house, in that building? You'd want to move because you don't know which day this person's going to do something erratic. Are they going to light their house on fire? Like, you don't know what's about to happen. It's not fun to be around. And while X is filled with crazy people just in general, this is an extra layer of demented. This is harassment level. This is like, it's just not fun to be around. And I hear that more and more from people behind the scenes. They don't enjoy being on there. So that's my rant about X. I think he's a terrible father. Sorry, but you can't be a good father if you're only a good father to one of your kids.
Stop trying to
And-
get Angela throttled. What are you doing?
Too late. I'm not going to blame Adam for that. No.
What about, don't you think the biggest problem on X is like the bots, all the bots and the kind of the unorganic, the ability to elevate or based on just buying these like bots and these bot rooms and all that. I mean, I don't know how you can control it, but
it's a massive problem. And actually, I don't know if people realize this, but that was the reason why he wanted to pull out from buying X. And it's because they lied about their numbers. What's important for people to understand is when you're a company and you want advertisers, you have to say, well, it costs X amount of money to advertise here because we have 2 million users, 100 million users, right? But if a quarter of those users are fake, right, that's fraud. And so you're basing your numbers and telling people to pay more based off of bad numbers. When Elon was already too far by the time he saw the real numbers of what old X had. Old X had no emphasis to get rid of the bots because they get to make more money because of that. And so when he got in there and he actually cared about not having bots, he saw how deflated this site actually was and how fake it was. And he wanted to pull out, but it was too late. So there's always been a bot issue. And I actually think he's doing more to fight the bots, but the bots are getting smarter, right? And there's being more of them. I think the issue is less about the bots, but it's more about because we wanted free speech, there's no curving of foreign agitators. And the amount of foreign agitators has increased, especially in American politics. So, I think that's a massive issue. I can't tell you how many fake American accounts are from Pakistan, India, or like Macedonia, somewhere in Eastern Europe. Real Americans do X, Y, and Z. Like, and they've never even stepped foot in America. And people are listening to this garbage and they make money off of it too. So I don't know. There's a lot of problems with X.
I liked that comment you had up, Angela, that 80% of bots across the entire internet. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm a social media manager that like there's bot purges every day and you can see that fluctuation. When there's been a bot purge, you lose like 300, 400 followers like that. They weren't real anyway, so they're gone. But then there's the paid, there's influencers that get money to say provocative things or whatever, the click, all that stuff. And when you're just trying to be real, it's hard.
Yeah, and actually, if I remember correctly, I may be wrong here, but I think they just put out some sort of emphasis that they're focusing on certain content being boosted over others, and especially like controversial things and things of that nature, right? So I don't know if we have a better platform than we did before. I don't agree with the arbitrary censorship, like telling the New York Post that they can't talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Right, that stuff should not happen. But to fix it, you don't need a arbitrarily just free speech. Anyone can come here. Everyone, all the banned losers from all over the internet, come here. It's the town hall. Trust and believe. you do not want to go to a town hall filled with crazy people. You just
Wasn't
don't.
there, okay, when Elon Musk
But hold on,
first
with
bought
that,
X,
I'm gonna have to bid out to ladies and gentlemen.
I know you've had an eventful day. Thank you
I'm
so
gonna
much.
go to another crazy town hall besides this one.
I don't want to forget to tell you real quick, Rosalind. When I was on your profile earlier, I saw that your pinned post was by Nick Sorter, and he's my guest on my podcast tomorrow.
oh, I like him.
You have to watch the episode. It releases tomorrow. I
Oh,
just
I
had to
haven't
tell you that. I was like, Nick, oh my gosh, that's so cool because Nick is my guest this week. So definitely check that out. Thank you, Rosalind, so much. Is there anything you want to shout out? Your handle's there.
My handle is there. If you want to learn more about what Scarlett and Jamie and I do, go to momsforliberty.org. If you are not following Angela and you've just stumbled upon this, go follow all of Angela's stuff. Follow Adam is a genius, so follow him too. Follow all the people and keep bringing truth to light. I think that's it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You rock, Rosalind. Talk soon.
Bye,
Thank you so
Rosalind.
much for being here.
I just wanted to make the point that when Elon Musk first bought X, it was amazing. My reach was like phenomenal. I mean, it was totally normal to get 100,000. Like, I mean, it was just crazy. It was like finally I saw what happened to my content when there was none of these artificial like things involved. Since then, it has changed a lot. It is very hard. It's very hard. And I am not, my friend Jamie, Gays Against Groomers, has complained, a lot of big accounts have complained that it is so difficult to have anything go viral, to have anything really just get out there. There was this brief time, this few months, and that's where my account just skyrocketed. And I knew I'm like, I have really good content. I have some really interesting things. And the only way it could gain momentum is if Libs of TikTok reposted or another big account. But suddenly it was like, wow, like stratosphere. And then I saw like after, I don't know, was it 2-3 months, just saw that to the point where it's like, what's happened? What's happened? I feel, am I shadow banned again? Like I used to be shadow banned every other day. And so it was really bad before Elon because I was shadow banned constantly for just things that weren't that controversial. Or you got mass reported, the thing with the mass reporting. You got mass reported, your account was like you couldn't do anything for weeks until that resolved. So what's happening now? It is really, I know they said free speech, but frankly, in many ways, the reach that you're able to gain is not too dissimilar from 2 years ago.
And the only difference is that, one, they made up a pay for play scenario, right? They say, oh, become a premium member and you'll get better reach, right? Pay for play. But they also said, well, you know what? You can be monetized. Okay. All right. I'll take a $50 check here and there. All right. Is that a fair exchange? I don't know. But the biggest problem, sorry to say, is nepotism. The biggest problem is the only people who grow on X right now is if Elon retweets you. That's it. If Elon likes you, guess what? You'll get 1 million followers in about 6 months. That's if he likes you and just retweets your stuff all the time. Those are the only people who grow. And all they're doing is just siphoning off people because Elon's is the master account with the most followers. So, I mean, is that a wonderful environment that breeds growth? No. Like the people who have 2,000 followers, good luck.
I would
Good
not
luck.
want to be someone with 2,000 followers right now. It's really hard.
Yeah, no, this has been coming up a lot. Like I'm experiencing it. A lot of people I'm talking to are an issue with the algorithm, and I don't know. There was like an apology by Elon, or like I'm working on it, or whatever. But I don't know. We're all kind of not sure what's going on with that. I don't know. Honestly, if followers are gonna, people who've spent all this time growing accounts and have all these, I don't know that it's gonna matter anymore, which is weird. So you spent all this time and energy building followers, and the question is now, is it even going to matter? I don't know. So there's a lot of frustrations with it right now, for sure. You're not alone in that. So,
and I also think you have to think that people might have fatigue, because if we're in the space like that, there was after 2024 election, that there might just be fatigue, and when the midterms roll around, maybe there'll be more an increased interest. So I've kind of thought that people just taking a break, and then the holidays, people just taking a break and not wanting to kind of just get weighed in. But X is still where news is made. X is still where Moms for Liberty has the greatest reach. I'm like very grateful that we're not constantly shadow banned, and that you have to word things just a certain way. Although you still do have to, some things your reach might be limited if you use bad language or say something else. You won't get kicked off, but no one will see you. So, I mean, might as well. But I'm grateful for Elon Musk. I'm grateful we have it. I don't think Trump would have won without Elon Musk having X. But I do think that and you keep saying like free speech. I just think people are still getting, in some way, some version of shadow ban. I still think that there's still account suppression. I think there's still mass reporting, all of that. I think those issues still exist, and conservatives, I think, get hit. But I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they get hit more than anyone else, so I can't attest to that. But it's not the way it was. There was this brief time where I think it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was
like a
so
sweet
much
spot.
fun.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, there was a sweet spot. It was so much fun. Like, it was like, yeah, we're free. Like, and things just went, and everyone was reposting. I think now people are very picky about reposting, because they want to grow their account, and they don't want to grow anyone else's. And so I think that there might be, so there's a lot of different things going on. As a social media manager, I see a lot of different trends. So
Absolutely.
I mean, still the best, but Facebook Meta, probably shouldn't be saying this that next, but it's getting better. I have to say, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's still not as good as X, but it's changed a little.
Yeah, I could see that. What I would say is, that's why it's complicated. I'm not an Elon fanboy. I don't think everything that he does is wonderful. I think he's often short-sighted about stuff, way too optimistic about things. I mean, for God's sakes, he convinced people to buy the Cybertruck. That thing is god awful. And I say that as a car fan. That thing was god awful, and that's exactly what it resulted into. Two big promises fell through in multiple ways. That's a whole other story.
Well,
But
Adam, I was in Wisconsin when he put heavily into the state Supreme Court race. He even came to Wisconsin to speak, got really involved, and that the candidate lost by 12 points. And when they looked at polling data, his presence in that particular race, it is a nonpartisan, it's a state Supreme Court race, his presence was more of a detriment than it was. The polling brought out more of those on the left than it did on the right. It was not, I think everyone was so happy after Trump's win, and I like Elon. I was like, yay, Elon, he's on our side, yay. But when it came to a statewide race, when Elon came in and was involved, it actually hurt that election. It hurt the prospects of that candidate.
yeah, and this goes to show you that online politics is different than real world politics, and not everyone sees the people that you think you like or reasonable or whatever. They may not see them that way. Perfect example is Trump. One person thinks that this person is the Antichrist, and the other person just thinks that he's a misunderstood billionaire. But But for the average person, I think it's important to understand like what's the image of that person offline. And when you have people all over the country who are willing to get arrested so they can key cars that your company made, that's not a good look. That's an indicator. Granted, these people are extreme in that nature, but that's an indicator that you're being held as the villain in this story. Maybe you should rethink moving forward publicly, at least. If he wants to, he can be like, I can't think of his name. The left wing billionaire George Soros. He could be George Soros. He can just throw money in a bunch of packs and not tell people, right? But he wants to be the face. He wants to show up and yell on camera.
Well, when he came to Wisconsin and speech, I thought, I was like right up front. His speech was kind of endearing. He said, "I'm getting all these death threats." He's like, and that's just not cool. And he was really sweet. I thought he very personable, and there was long lines and he stayed longer and and it was mostly like young men asking him questions. And I liked him a lot. His speech, he was very like, the way that he talked about things was very normal, and just I think he was very idealistic, and I think he really thought that he could make a change, that he could really do something, and that even he realized that politics is weird, and it's not something that you can, I think, you can put a lot of money into it. You could be the richest man in the world and still you can't get people to vote for you sometimes. Like, it's just, it's strange. And it's the media just tore him apart. They tore him apart. They spread a lot of lies about him. It wasn't fair. Listen, poor little billionaire, I know, but I think they weren't exactly fair to him. And so, but listen, he's okay. He's he's going to survive it.
There are worse people that exist out there. But my thing is, you actually used the word, he's idealistic. And he's idealistic about his business ventures as well. And some of those things pay off. Listen, SpaceX paid off, right? He risked a lot. I give him kudos because a lot of people don't risk everything for something to come to fruition.
He
right?
did,
So
right.
there are things I admire about him as a businessman. Yeah. But there are certain things where, because he's so idealistic, he doesn't have a limitation when he actually should. And in my opinion, the AI and robotics factor is one of those areas where he's going to be the catalyst. Him and others are going to be the catalyst for the very thing that is going to make it harder for our children to actually prosper in this country. I look at I think it was last year, it's either this year or last year, like the average age of a home buyer was in their 50s, right? Which is very different than a decade or so ago. That means that young people are not the ones who are able to get what we call the privilege of being a home buyers, to have the American dream, to go through all that stuff. Even for myself, our household income is above average. And after the pandemic, we were priced out. $350,000 homes became $500,000. Just like that.
I think,
and it hasn't really come down.
I was 26 when we bought 27, bought our first house. And it was a small house. It was fixed upper, but we were able to buy it, sell it, so it was, and the price of our mortgage was cheaper than rent. It was cheaper to buy a house and pay a mortgage than it was to rent. And it made perfect sense to buy a house. But I mean, that's when you could buy a house for $140,000. Can you imagine?
Those
I know.
Our first
another sweet spot.
$30,000. And it was a cute little house in a nice neighborhood.
That was another sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Well, I am so appreciative of you guys. I have to wrap up. Thank you so much. You're both
Angela,
so
we could just keep talking and
I
talking.
know, and I could listen and talk with you all day long. I know you actually have places to be too. So
Yes, I do. I have to go to a parent teacher conference. That's why I'm just sort of like hanging out here. Like, I don't want to go to parent teacher conference.
you're both so incredible. So many great points, so much great information. I really, really, really can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation and always connecting with you both. Scarlett, do you want anything you want to shout out, promote? Where can people find you?
Sure.
Unleashed podcast.
Well, Angela, thanks for having us. I bet you never guessed the range that you were going to have today, that you were going, like all the topics. It's like
So good.
huge,
So
huge.
good.
Thanks for having us on. And it sucks that people are down on you just for reaching across and talking to people with different opinions. So I'm thankful that you have us on, and that it takes a lot of courage. You know, what did Dumbledore say? It takes courage to stand up to your enemies, but it takes even more courage to stand up to your friends. So I think it takes a lot of courage to be bold in your tribe. So I thank you for that. And if you want to follow me, I run Moms for Liberty account. So that's at moms4liberty, and I'm Scarlett 4 kids. So
thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate it. And, you know, so inspired and motivated by, you know, you sharing your story today, and just all the things that you've accomplished and done and fought for over the years. And I'm just really happy that things are working out so well for you. And I hope that you are able to kind of heal, and your family, and that things are good for you. But thank you for everything that you do. I can see, like I said, all the love and the passion and the care and the concern. You're totally fighting whatever misunderstanding people have of Moms for Liberty, and the hate and all of that kind of stuff. So
I know you have to come on my show.
Okay.
I want Adam. Adam, you're so smart. You're like so calm too. You're so like chill.
So knowledgeable on like everything.
Yes.
And just very reasonable. I bet you get through to so many people, Adam, just based on your demeanor, and like you were mentioning earlier, the authenticity, like genuineness that you speak with, the personal stories that you share. It really is special.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to keep it calm and be reasonable,
which is hard to do. So
yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
But yeah, where can people find you, and you want to promote what you got coming up?
Yeah, at wrong_speak on X, at wrong_speak on YouTube, and my Substack, adambcoleman.substack.com. I write for the New York Post. So I should have something coming out this Sunday. I'm going to write it tomorrow. So just keep an eye on it. It's about Elon, AI, and socialism.
Ooh.
Stay tuned. Hot topics and thank you for talking about some of that today on here. Always a pleasure having you guys. We'll talk very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and week. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. You too.
Bye. Thanks for having me on. Now I'm off.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, guys, thank you so much. This was, we went over because it's just an absolute pleasure talking with everyone. I appreciate you all so much for being here and tuning in. The live stream, this Bold Chat live stream, happens every Tuesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please see the link in my bio. Follow, that way you don't miss any streams, any podcast episodes. And speaking of podcast episodes, there is one releasing, a new one tomorrow. They release every, oh no, that's not the right thing. Release every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, my guest is Nick Sorter, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. So excited. It's such a fun interview. I'm really enjoying doing these podcast interviews because I love to do a deeper dive on people. I love to kind of give you a side of them that you don't really see very often, or maybe never, because, you know, you see their content, you see their posts, but I love to kind of get a little more into the human and, you know, their background, experiences that shape them. So just some fun questions, a little bit about, you know, who they are as a human. So it's been a lot of fun. So Nick Sorter, that episode releases tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like I said, hit the link in my bio, follow, you'll get notification. That way you don't miss the episode every Friday. And just want to shout out Network Access Group. Check them out. Thanks so much for making this content possible. And that's it. Yeah, we'll see you for the Bold Chat live streams Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard and Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, and Bold Talk new episode tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you soon. I hope you have a great, great, great rest of your night. And thanks so much for the support. Appreciate you guys.
Go.